Hello, Kindred Spirits. Welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and together we are going to be diving in to look into your next 2 weeks for the overarching messages, as well as to do a week-by-week energy forecast with the charms. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here today. We are going to be looking into your next 2 weeks, as I said, for the charms, for the messages that are coming forward for you over the next 2 weeks, both overarchingly as well as more individually for each week. But if you are looking for a short intro, this one might be a little bit longer because I did want to just say thank you so much for all of the support that's come forward over the last week as I took a week off to grieve losing a very close family member pet that just really meant a lot to me. So thank you to everyone who really put forward that support. I found that I haven't been doing tarot readings for myself over the last few months, but have been still enjoying doing these readings for you all. So thank you for giving me an outlet and a place to still be able to keep tarot light for myself as I was going through quite a difficult time in my own life, because I found that it was actually easier to read for all of you than it was to read for myself, as I was navigating a lot of grief as I was moving through sort of a hospice situation with this pet or Loki in my life. So I really do appreciate everyone. It's still quite hard to talk about, but I really do appreciate all the love and support and care that has come forward, and it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for supporting this space, for just being kind, and for giving me a space to be able to read for you all. So I really do appreciate that. But before I get sad or mushy or in my feels, we're going to go ahead and look at the different piles here. But also, if you want to support even further and you're interested in getting your own reading, I do have snail mail readings options available for you for any query or question on your mind, where I send a letter to you in the mail. It's typewritten on a vintage typewriter from the 1970s, so it really has a really old tactile feel. And I also do email readings and DM'd readings on Instagram and through email. So there's lots of different formats, lots of different ideas. Just feel free to check out all the helpful reviews and information down below on my Instagram, as well as in the description. So that's basically everything that I wanted to say. But I just, again, really appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the care, and I appreciate, all the love that's been sent in to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's go ahead and look at each of the piles here. So for each of them, I decided on keeping it simple, right? I'm kind of keeping all of this simple for me as I kind of dive my feet back into reading for you all after taking a week off. But for each of the piles here, we have 3 different crystals to choose from. So here for pile number 1, there is this little piece of Jade. So if you're feeling called to this one, that's pile number 1. For pile number 2, you might be feeling called to this little piece of tiger's eye here. So if you're feeling called to that one, that's pile number 2. And then last but not least here for pile number 3, there's this little piece of rose quartz. So if you're feeling called to this one, that's pile 3. So before you start heading off to the timestamps, as always, I like to invite you to take a deep, cleansing, grounding breath here with me so you can really connect with your intuition and connect with yourself here in the piles. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath together here now. And you are welcome to choose all 3 of the piles. You're welcome to choose between each of them. You're welcome to take bits and pieces from all or one or whatever you wish. There's really no right or wrong rules to this. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And if you are curious, like I said, to look into those snail mail readings, digital, email, or DM readings, or if you want to even get your own personal charm casting mat that is custom to your dimensions and your way of casting, then definitely feel free to check all the information on that down below, and specifically on my Instagram. But with that all said, let's go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you decide to choose this little piece of Jade, then this is the pile for you. So we can look into your next coming 2 weeks with the charms, the numbers, letter tiles, and the oracle cards of the Threadbound Oracle, which we'll be using here today. But if you're curious what we get up to with all of the different supplies and decks, all of it will be listed in the description down below. But like I said, we're looking into not only the ins and outs of the next 2 weeks, but also doing a 2-week ahead forecast, going week by week with the charms. So feel free to get yourself settled, get yourself cozy, and we're actually going to begin by looking at your number and letter tiles. So we'll start first with the letters. So we're going to drop some letters on here, and we're going to see if any initials show up, any oracle messages or names, places, whatever you see. Do feel free to use your own intuition as always, and we're going to see what comes in for you. So feel free to send your energy in through time and space here, and let's pull you some charms, some letter tile charms. Okay, so looks like you have R showing up here in the center with E, N, V. I kind of felt rev when I first saw them, so it kind of it's making me think that like you're revving, you're putting, pedal to the metal kind of feeling, like you're revving something up or you're anticipating something about to happen. So R-E-V-N, and then you also have I, U, L, and E. So as always, feel free to see what else you might be seeing in here. There could be specific names, initials, things that are very personal and specific to you. But I also do see, in that same vein, I see lever here, if I can spell it correctly, lever. And that's making me think too that like in that same way of like putting pedal to the metal, revving something up, turning the lever, it feels like you're making quite a big bold action this coming week, or something that you're at least really thinking about, making a quite a big switch on, right? Like a lever makes a really big switch. It's either on or it's off, or at least some of them, obviously there's a gray area there, but there's this feeling that like you're changing something up quite either drastically or it makes a really big impact, that change. So there could be a lot of changes coming in that you are putting agency in, right? So it's not necessarily like the universe or society or your boss or somebody, like something outside of your control is making you turn or shift this lever, but rather that it's in your control. There's something in your control that you're able to make that flip or switch something, right? So that's what I'm seeing here mostly, is that rev and lever. There's also obviously on the other side of this, never showing up here too. So you might also be feeling that one. But I mostly felt because we had rev and lever, they felt very connected. But never can also be telling you that there could be like some second thoughts there, or if it is an external source and you don't feel like you're in control of the situation, it could also be that this is your way of being in control and putting down some sort of boundary, like I would never do that, or this is not me. So that could also be very specific to a few of you as well. Overall, though, that's everything that I'm really seeing here, but as always, you're welcome to look at these further. You're welcome to write them down, look at them as deeply as you'd like to, maybe even mix them up in a hat and see what comes out for you. But we are going to continue forward and see what you get for, in that same vein, numbers. So with the numbers here, we're going to be looking into numerology, angel numbers, repeating numbers, any specific dates that might be really important to you, any other ways that you might be even playing around with these. So some of you find a lot of use in these, some of you don't, so we're going to just see. But let's go ahead and pull a few for you. Okay, so I honestly feel like this 3 kind of got stuck to my hand, so I'm going to take that one too. But you have 13 showing up here in blue. 13 usually represents an ending or something finishing off, tying off loose ends, completing something. So 13 showing up here is just really giving me, especially with that blue usually meaning something quite calm or something, again, in your control. Blue usually, being quite for some reason I'm getting like the sky's the limit feeling to it. I don't normally see that with blue, but that came through. So maybe there's something showing up there when it comes to that lever and rev that we saw already. You also have 5 and 3. 5 being a number of change. You have it in black in this case. Black being quite just solid. So there could be, again, some really big changes that you might be making this week. And then 3 being cooperation or working with others. And it's in red in this case. So however you associate red. Red is a very culturally diverse color when it comes to how we associate that color. So you might find that to be a very good sign, maybe a warning sign. It could be all different kinds of things, but thinking about your community and how it might be impacting the situation when it comes to that lever or that revving feeling. And we're going to see more as we go further. So change, community, and tying up loose ends there. The sky's the limit. That's kind of what I'm getting here from your numbers, but this could also be the 13th, the 16th, the 15th, right? The 5th, the 3rd, all of these might have significant meaning to you, so keep that in mind as well. But we're going to go even further and we're going to play around with the thread-bound oracle here to pull you one specific card to see the most impactful or most overarching messages coming forward, or themes and energies coming forward for you over the next 2 weeks. So definitely, if you haven't sent your energy in or meditated on any of the cards while I've been pulling them, or the numbers and things, then this is definitely the one to do it on. So we're going to see the next 2 weeks for you. Group 1, what energy is most prevalent, is coming up most often, the overarching theme for the next 2 weeks for group 1. So you got the sun here. That totally makes a lot of sense because the sun has a lot to do with agency and like things being in the light of day, right? And that same feeling I got, the sky's the limit, right? So we have that showing up here in the fact that, again, you have a lot of things that maybe if they felt like they were outside of your control are either moving into your control this week. Maybe that's what that lever, that switch is. Or you're going to be taking the things that are in your control and really using them to your best advantage this week. I'm really getting that. We also have here with the sun, it says here, leadership, optimism, and nourishment. So the sun, obviously very nourishing, vitamin D. So this could be just a literal message to get outside, to appreciate the outdoors, to appreciate the sunlight and doing things during, the waking hours. That is, if you're not a night owl like I am. But you could also be, with that leadership message, that's maybe where that agency is coming in, and that this situation that might unfold this week might be putting you into a place of leadership. Maybe that's what that switch is, or moving away from a place of leadership, right? Whatever it might be, that change that's coming in, but it could be related to that leadership message, and that feeling of agency, being a leader, being able to make an impact. Very optimistic week as well. Like if you take anything from this card, it's a very optimistic week for sure. And that if you're going into it where it feels like it's not very optimistic and maybe you're feeling a bit pessimistic, it's definitely going to change or shift by the end. So we have that showing up for you, but of course we're going to look deeper by going into a actual energy forecast with the charms here. So let me go ahead and move you back out so we can look at them. So if you're new here, you might not know how the charm mat works here, but anything that falls here in the center is going to be more on the sun card. So we're going to be kind of seeing an expanded view on that. Anything that falls in this half is about week 1, and anything that falls on this little noodle shape is about week 2. And then we'll talk about the moons individually if they show up. So let's begin first with some tarot tiles, and then just after we'll pull some charms to get that extra little pieces of information. So as always, feel free to send your energy in, and let's pull you some tarot cards. Dang, those came out very fast. Sometimes it takes me ages and I feel like I'm rummaging forever for you all. But I just had like a whole group of them that was really calling to me. So we'll reveal the ones that are upside down or are reversed at this moment. Or upside, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but basically they aren't revealed. We'll reveal those in a moment, but you do have the 6 of Pentacles in the second week alongside the 7 of Wands and then the 2 of Wands. And don't worry, we'll zoom in here so you can see them clearer in a moment. But let's go ahead and get more of those specific details coming in with the charms. As always, feel free to connect with them first if you'd like to. And let's mix these up, group 1. Okay, so let's have a look. We had this one fall at the beginning, so I'm going to just drop it, see where it falls as well. I'm going to zoom you in, and we'll start in the center here first. So, of course, we're going to reveal what this card is. It seems very important to all sections, so we're going to see what it is. You have the Hierophant card here. The Hierophant card has a lot to do with how we perceive and respond to the lessons that are coming into our lives in many different forms. So, right, you could see this sort of figure standing here as someone who is a mentor, a teacher, a person who you look up to, a person who you look for information, support, and, this could be doesn't have to be an earthly being, right? It can be a god, a goddess, a higher power of any sort, if you feel that is, or it could be someone here on earth that you really look up to, but it's someone that you are looking up to, and maybe it's even that you're learning to look up to yourself, seeing as we have that leadership energy coming in with the sun, and there's a lot of agency coming in this coming week. I really do feel like where maybe in previous weeks or in previous times in your life you felt, again, outside of that control, now you're being able to move into a position of power where you hold more control, possibly even holding more responsibility in your hands, because we do have the charm of kind of responsibility, but it's also making promises and sort of really legally binding commitments, or even just commitments in general with others in your life, or to even yourself. So whenever I see the ring, it really represents responsibility, commitment, and promises. So as we have that showing up here over near the center, alongside the optimism and leadership that we were already getting from the sun also being a card about guidance and feeling very much guided. The sun, right, lights up our entire world. So there could be someone in your life who you've looked up to for a long time, and now you're being able to kind of fill those shoes. So you might be feeling a bit of that showing up in this coming week. I just really feel like you're moving up into a leadership position or a leadership role. And that could be in very, very small ways, like taking over, doing a chore around the house, to literally taking up a new position in a job, or anywhere in between there, or taking care of someone. But there is some sort of responsibility coming in over the coming 2 weeks that, you're going to either be able to shift towards or shift away from, right? A lot of agency. We also are having that show up here with the Minnie Mouse little hat here. This is also kind of giving me this feeling to keep it light, to that optimism feeling of keeping it fun, not getting too bogged down in the weeds of feeling like you need to be this perfect leader or something like that, but keeping it a little fun, keeping it a little bit light. And then there's also this charm I've had in here for a really long time, and for some reason every time it shows up it just makes me think of like a little marble or something like that. So marbles also can be like, playing games or things like that. So if I'm seeing this in here, these just feel like really optimistic charms, kind of just, coming to that same feeling that we were getting from the sun previously. If you think of the sun as a massive marble. But I really am mostly getting these two charms coming forward quite deeply for you as the overall themes. So if we're going to move away from the overall themes and really look specifically at the next 2 weeks here, we're going to look here first for the first week. So this one actually feels more connected to the week, so we're going to just move it up here for you. It looks like you have one unrevealed, so I'm going to go ahead and reveal that. So you have the star charm, or star card, as well as the Two of Wands. And then between that, you have a charm very similar to that same feeling we got with the Hierophant, where they're kind of standing in a position of power, standing up above other people. And you have that showing up here as well with this sort of monument charm. Whenever I see this one, it makes me think of like, you know, when you go into a park and you see like a statue or a monument of some sort. That's what it kind of feels like. So it feels like, again, someone that you're kind of moving into a higher position, a higher perspective. And this could be more spiritually for a few of you. I am really getting that. But again, it could be as small or as large as you feel connects with your life, but these are the energies coming forward. On top of that, you also have the planning charm of the Two of Wands. So with the Two of Wands, they're really they're not making actions. They're not necessarily taking and making steps, but they are looking into it's usually supposed to be a little globe in their hand here. And they're really looking at the whole picture of their situation and where to go next. And so when you have this refreshing energy of the Star, a renewal of sorts, and then you have, planning for the future, this is giving me that same feeling. You're stepping up into a position of power in this first week. Something that's very new to you, right? A renewal, or you're coming back into it with a fresh pair of eyes. And instead of immediately making actions or taking steps to move forward, you're really looking at the whole picture. Outside of like the main energies that we've already talked about, though, there also could be a lot of renewal in the sense that like maybe this first week it's really imperative to like take some time to, look after your body, to nurture your body and to nourish your body, right? We had a lot of that coming in with nourishment as well with the sun. So it can also be that like with the Star, there's definitely this feeling of renewal and the fact like taking a shower, taking a nice bath, really having a little spa night for yourself, really looking after yourself, journaling, whatever it might be that's a very self-care, self-love sort of situation. That could be really important and impactful for you as well to give you the mindset and a fresh mindset for you to move forward in the coming weeks, maybe even in the coming week after that. Alongside that, you also have the bear claw charm. So this is, it kind of depends on the way that it falls, but it fell this way specifically. And this means that you're coming out of hibernation. So especially for those of us who have been in the winter, you can really feel yourself, especially with this little lucky clover as well, which a lot of the time, March has that sort of association with, for those of you who follow it, like St. Patrick's Day or St. Patty's Day. So this is really coming forward and maybe some celebrations or things like that. But I am also getting like you're coming out of your shell or coming out of hibernation on something, and you're definitely, luck is in your favor this first week. As for the second week, it looks like you have the community charm. So I always see this as your community, whether it's physically like your community of your town or your city or wherever you may, your workplace, whatever it might be. But you have some sort of thing that's connected to community in this first week. And then you also have the charm all about that same feeling. It was connected to that responsibility charm. But you have the Six of Pentacles. And the Six of Pentacles, as you can see, is all about give and take, reciprocity, being able to reciprocate what is given and be able to give back. So there is this feeling too that it's maybe you're feeling like it's your responsibility to give back to your community, maybe through small acts of service and kindness. Community can be very small as well, right? It could just be your household, your family, one other person in your life. But there's something that you want to be able to give back in some way, or you feel a responsibility to give back, or share knowledge even in this second week. You also have music being very important in the second week. And then you also have the charm about, or the tarot card rather, about the Seven of Wands, which is about being able to stand up for yourself too. In the same way that the other ones were kind of standing in your power, this one, it's about being able to put up boundaries and being able to share, your ideas without, worrying about the backlash that you might get. So this is also showing up here as like putting out boundaries or being able to share your ideas more freely in the second week. So overall, those are all of the cards and charms that you got here for the coming 2 weeks. If you did enjoy this reading and you found it useful, definitely be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below. As always, very curious to hear your thoughts. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, art, magic, charm casting, and more. So definitely feel free to subscribe. And if you want to look into any of the offerings I have and you like the charm mat that I have here, I've made updated versions of this charm mat or other designs that you might like to have custom made for yourself if you're interested in charm casting. So feel free to check all of the information on that down below and through my Instagram. And you are also welcome to look at the private and personal digital readings as well as snail mail readings that I do if you have any questions or queries on your mind that you'd like to have answered. With that all said, though, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for your patience in this last week with everything that I had going on in my personal life. I really do appreciate everyone who's been so kind and so supportive as I go through a whole grieving process here. So I really do appreciate all the support given to me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 2, if you've decided to choose this piece of Tiger's Eye, then this is the pile for you to look into what the charms and the cards have to say for you for the coming next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing not only the overarching messages, but also doing a 2-week ahead charm forecast to really look into the energy coming in for you week by week. So we're going to have the charms, we're going to have the numbers, letter tiles, tarot tiles, the thread bound oracle, and maybe others, so we'll see. But I'll have all of it listed down below in the description in case you're curious what we got up to here using today. But do feel free to get yourself cozy, get yourself comfortable as we begin. So we're going to be starting first with your letter tiles. So if you've not been here before, I'll give you the rundown, but these letter tiles are going to be looking into any initials, into any dates, oracle messages that are coming in, or anything else that you might see in them, right? So feel free to use your own intuition as always with these readings and see what comes through for you. And you're also at any time welcome to pause and meditate on the messages or on the different charms and cards as I mix them up. So we're going to go ahead and see. So feel free to send your energy in. And let's go ahead and pull you some letters. Pile number 2, or group 2. Okay. So, looks like we have L-I-T as well as another I. I'm definitely seeing lit here, which is kind of funny. But we also have R, we have M, Z, and I. Lots of eyes. Whenever I see a ton of eyes showing up, this tells me that this is a week about you, right? So this is, you know how sometimes we have weeks that are just really about other people, or we're trying to get other things done, or, you know, and these can be really good things, but sometimes, you know, we really have to take care of ourselves or look after ourselves, put up some boundaries, whatever it might be. So this is a very, selfish week in a good way, right? We know there's a lot of connotations of selfish being, a very bad word or a bad thing, but there's a lot of reasons why we are selfish, and there's a lot of reasons why we need to take care of ourselves and look after ourselves and our wants and needs. And so, more power to you for this coming week. Curious to see what other charms and cards come forward with that coming with the rest of them. Like I said, I saw lit here, knit, sit, so you might be having breakouts or things like that, but mostly I'm feeling that I feeling, and then I also got like Riz showing up here, like charisma or Riz, in terms of like dating or trying to charm someone. And so that could also be very important to some of you who might be dating or looking for someone or a partner in your life. So that might be coming up here. Charisma can also be just finding people to connect with outside of romantic relationships too. So, right, using your charisma to get a job or to make a sale or whatever it might be. So it doesn't have to be specifically romance related, but we do have that showing up here. But mostly the things that I'm really seeing is those eyes. That's really important. I also can be, working with your intuition a lot this coming week as well, and your instincts. So we're going to see how that all kind of mixes together, but I'm going to go ahead and move these to the side. You might have seen specific personal messages to you with Beyond the Eyes for like different names, dates, places, or people or initials. So feel free to see if there's anything like that coming forward for you. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the numbers. So similar to the letters, feel free to use your own intuition, but we're going to see what numbers come forward, if there's any repeating numbers, if the colors mean anything to us, if there's specific dates maybe that you maybe need to, look at your planner for. You can also see these as messages from spirit. So we're going to see what that is numerologically and see what comes forward. So group 2 here. Group 2. Okay, so you've got a nice little mix of numbers showing up here. You have 2 ones. Not 2 ones, but 2 different ones, one in red and one in blue. Depending on how you associate colors, that might be very different for each of you, but 1 usually meaning a number to look after yourself, where 2 is about looking after another, and 3 is looking after a community or a group of people. This is about looking out for you, number 1, or the number 1 person in your life. So we really have number 1 showing up here. 1 also meaning beginnings or starting something anew, and that also is coming up here with 13 in this very energizing number of this very fiery orange. So I'm really getting this feeling, 13 usually being associated with the death card of finishing things off, tying off loose ends, or completing something. This is kind of showing up to me to tell me that there's something on the other side of an ending that might be coming up for you over the coming next 2 weeks, and an ending that's going to give you a lot of energy, right? So it's maybe not something that's going to make you super sad or make you very full of grief or anything like that, but rather something that's going to really pump you up and get you excited. You also have 12 showing up here with blue. 12 usually can represent getting really close to completion with something. I'm honestly not getting a ton from 12. 12 can be also about the 12th of the month, the 13th of the month. 16 is even showing up here. And then you have 6 showing up as well in black. But the ones that I'm really feeling called to are the 1s and the 13, but feel free to see what else comes forward for you. We're going to move forward though and see what you have coming in with the more overarching messages for you over the coming weeks with the thread-bound oracle. So we're going to see what the overarching theme, overarching energy that's coming forward most prevalently for you over the next coming weeks. So feel free to send your energy in, especially for this one as I flip through the cards, because this is going to be one of the most impactful and overarching message. So do feel free to connect with the cards, pause if you'd like to, and let's see, group 2, what do you got coming in? Okay, so I went ahead and pulled you another card because there was another card just sticking out at me. So you have 2 cards this week. Usually I just take one, but we're going to take both. So you have the one that I pulled with the moon here, and it says cycles, cleansing, and destiny, which honestly makes a lot of sense with what you already had coming in here of things finishing off, completing, and getting really revved up for something new to come in. The fury of the papers that are showing up here, especially with what you have over here, this just really makes a lot of sense. But then you also have the library showing up here with knowledge, resources, and history. So this could be personal history, local history, overarching big events that have happened in history that are influencing your coming next 2 weeks. On top of that, knowledge and resources tells me too that there's a wealth of knowledge and people around you that could be very supportive over the coming next 2 weeks, that could help get something moving or get something flowing or moving for you. Especially towards something that you've been dreaming about, something you're very passionate about. This fury of all of these kind of messages coming out of this book really feel connected to your destiny, or connected to, if you don't believe in destiny, connected to your next path, connected to what it is that you feel called to really take your time in and to work towards, that is very specific to you. Like, it's not necessarily for your community, it's not necessarily for your family or other people in your life, but something you want to pursue. So that's really coming forward for something that you are kind of manifesting or moving forward, and that it's going to be really related to this information, to this wealth of a library and of knowledge, either whether that's your past history, past knowledge in your life, that is going to help inform where you're moving forward. I do hope that made sense, but basically those are the two cards that you really have coming in. Skills, knowledge, history, and resources, as well as cycles, cleansing, and destiny, and how those are connecting. So we're going to see obviously more as we go forward. So I'm going to go ahead and leave both of these here, and we're going to start looking into your 2 week ahead energy forecast, going week by week with the charms. So we're going to go ahead and zoom you out here. And we're going to start with how this is actually going to work. So for some of you, you already know what this is going to be, but for those of you who might be new, anything that falls here in the center is going to be more to do with the cards we already pulled here, and like the overarching messages. As for anything that falls on this half, for this little noodle shape, that's week 1. And anything that falls on this half for noodle shape, this is week 2. And we'll talk about the moons individually, especially since you got that moon card. So let's start out first by pulling you some tarot tiles, but we're also going to pull the charms just after that to get the very nitty-gritty, very specific niche details. So feel free, as always, to connect with them, and then we'll go ahead and pull some of these for you. Whoa, one just flew over here, so I'm going to try again, see where it lands. But you definitely have a few falling over here towards the moons. You also have the 7 of Wands showing up here in the second week. You have the and don't worry, we'll zoom in later so you can really see them. You have a reversed version of the Knight of Swords, as well as an upright version of the King of Cups, and we'll reveal these two as we go. But most of it's happening here in the first week, so we'll see if we get any more here with the charms. So let's go ahead and mix these up as well. Okay, not a lot of charms. Sometimes I do these readings for these charm readings and it's like every single charm under the sun is falling, but this time it's keeping it quite simple, so I'm curious to see what you get here if I zoom in. So we're going to look first, obviously, at the center. So you have already in your cards sort of the library and moon messages. So keeping those in mind, we're going to see any more. So first off, you have the lock showing up here. And I don't believe, I'll go ahead and move these for a second. I don't believe, you didn't have any other lock or keys showing up here. So your key or your knowledge might be feeling kind of closed off this coming next 2 weeks. So where you're maybe wanting to make some headway on something that feels like fated to you, or something that is in your destiny, or something you're really progressing towards, right? That feeling of that I, or that feeling of those ones of something that is just about, on the precipice of something new that you're about to start on. I feel like you also have this sort of pessimistic feeling towards it, because we do have the pessimistic mouse here, or this feeling of, I always look at them and they've just got like their hands on their hips and they're just like, no way, I can't do that, or they've got this sort of different kind of point of view, and then this locked feeling. So maybe it's that you are currently feeling, and who knows, maybe you were already feeling while I was talking about it earlier, this feeling that your perspective on the situation, this more pessimistic point of view, is really what's holding you back. And whether it is that you're actually being pessimistic, or it's something of your history that you've been quite pessimistic in the past, either way, it's still again affecting what you accomplish over the coming 2 weeks, or what you can get headway on with whatever it is that you're feeling that pull towards, right? The moon is sort of like something that we're feeling very pulled towards, like the tides. But it seems that it's quite locked off to you, or at least over these next coming 2 weeks, it's something that you are trying to move away from or trying to work through, something that maybe are feeling a creative block or a block towards whatever this pull is that you have. That isn't to say that you can't keep moving towards what it is that's really pulling you and lighting you up and getting you excited, but it is something that, like, it's going to take a bit of work, and it's going to take a little bit of having to work through past patterns and behaviors that's been in your history, right? To really move you and launch you forward. So just something to keep in mind, but that's kind of that overarching message and messages coming forward for you. But let's go ahead and take a look at the coming first week. So I'm going to go and zoom you back out, but I'll pick up some of them so you can see them more specifically as we go. So first, here at the start, you have the Confused charm. Whenever I see this one, a lot of people think of it as the heartbreak card because, there's 3 swords stabbing a heart, so the 3 of swords. But whenever I see this one can kind of talk about us sometimes overthinking of a situation or making it worse in our minds, because the swords represent our thoughts, right? They represent our brain and how our brain is functioning, where the heart is the one getting kind of stabbed here. So this is sort of like, again, that feeling of what you're being pulled and feeling this pull towards, but you keep kind of like squashing it. That's what I'm kind of getting this feeling like. Each time you kind of feel like you're like, ooh, I'm going to start moving towards it. I think I'm actually going to finally do that thing. I'm actually going to finally make a little bit of a movement towards it. Here in this first week, you might still be feeling that locked feeling, that creative block, that brick wall that's in your mind that you've maybe used in the past as a coping mechanism or as a reason to not, feel like you could pursue something so selfish or whatever it might be that you've maybe put in your mind. But it definitely feels like you're kind of working through that here in the first week, because as we move into the rest of the first week, you also have the Aries charms. This could be just an Aries in your life, and their sun, moon, or rising is important to your first week, but it did fall this way with courageous, being courageous, getting outside of your comfort zone or these defense mechanisms that you've built up and moving forward with something. You also have the plane here, and then underneath it you have the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is kind of like that library card, because they are the student. They are the student of life. They are the one always seeking knowledge, always seeking how to make that next thing, how to hold this next thing, how to move. You can literally, it almost looks like this, look at their position of their hand and how they're even, kind of caressing this moon and caressing this little pentacle shape. It's very similar, and it feels like you're going to have this push and pull battle with yourself in this first week of, can I pursue this thing? Can I move forward on it? Am I allowed? But it's also, allowing yourself to be courageous enough to open yourself to chart new waters. That's also what I'm getting here with this travel charm of the plane. The plane can also just represent in reinventing ourselves, right? Just kind of like the plane had to be invented. It didn't always exist, but here it is now, a part of our world. So there's something in your world that maybe doesn't feel like it can exist or can coexist with the other things happening in your life, but you do have this plane showing up here. You also could just be, if you take this quite literally, you might also be taking a trip or a day trip in this coming first week. That maybe it's going to take a little bit of courage to get yourself there on, or to navigate that situation. As we move into the second week, because everything else fell here on the moons, which we'll talk about here in a second, you only have 2 charms, right? Or a card and a charm. So first off, you have the smooth things over charms. Whenever I see this, it kind of feels like you're smoothing things over. And then you have the kind of defensive charm. Whenever I see this one, it's about putting up boundaries, defending yourself. But sometimes we're having to the person we're battling is ourselves, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting here for you, is that you're kind of battling against yourself. There's been this push and pull for a while, and that's kind of coming up here. But the fact that you have it with the smoothing things over is telling me that the focus, especially since nothing else fell here in your second week, the focus is smoothing that over. We're kind of getting over the hump of this sort of roadblock that you have with yourself right now, which is really nice to see with everything else we have here, and especially the courage that you're building up towards the second week. As for the other charms, they fell on the moon, and the moons can represent timing. So you're welcome to look at, depending on whenever you're watching this, you're welcome to look at a moon app or to look it up on Google to see which moon represents what specific date if you want to look at timing of this energy. But you can also just see it as like the full moon and what that represents and things. So over here you first off have the bee. The bee usually represents like that hive mind or working together, community, teamwork kind of energy. Since nothing else fell around it, I'm not exactly sure what it's trying to tell us, but the timing of some sort of teamwork or team building activity might be coming up around the full moon. It also could be related to that Aries that we had show up here earlier. And then you have, like I said, two different kind of energies showing up here, where we have the Knight of Swords, which is all about very fast, fleeting messages, fast thinking, sometimes, impulse, being, working off your impulse and not really thinking things through and just kind of like throwing yourself into it. This energy was actually reversed, which is telling me that where you were feeling that working with your head over your heart energy, I think it's gonna flip around the last quarter moon, which is all about releasing things. So it totally makes sense, because you also have the King of Cups, and the King of Cups is all about really embracing your heart, embracing creativity, opening yourself up to things. And where you've had a lot of roadblocks, a lot of things kind of getting in your way, sometimes getting in your own way, this is sort of opening yourself up around this time and kind of changing that form, that way of thinking. So this is definitely a really exciting timing thing. Again, it's on the release moon, so it means you might have to release something or allow yourself to kind of make this change. On top of that, you have the what do I call this? This is like sort of your guides if you believe in a higher power, guides, spirit guides, gods, goddesses, or even people in your life. But this is about usually something spiritual on the other side, working in your favor towards a goal or something that you're really have your eye or mind set on, right? So they're working in the background to make things, work out for you. So we have a lot of kind of luck in your favor when it comes to this last quarter moon. So if you're trying to have something happen around this last quarter moon, this is the moon to the moon phase to really keep an eye on. Overall though, when it comes to all of your charms and cards and we're really looking at all of this, the biggest thing I could say is just that your cards and charms really want to just tell you to kind of change your perspective of working more with your heart and less with your head. Like if I could say anything for your next 2 weeks, that's kind of the major themes coming forward for you, so that you can kind of get out of your head and get out of your way enough to, make the things that you really want happen. Alongside of that, it's also that selfishness is not necessarily a bad thing, and that your dreams, your passions, the things that you really feel ambitious towards are worth pursuing. So that's really what I'm seeing here for you over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and hold this back up for you so you can see and let you see everything here. But if you did enjoy this reading, if you did find it useful in any way, definitely be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you. If you saw any specific charms or cards in a very different way, I would truly love to hear. And also, if you like pick a card readings like this or other educational videos on charm casting or art magic and the like, then definitely feel free to subscribe, as I put out new readings every single Monday. That might really interest you. On top of that, if you are interested in getting into charm casting, I have an entire master guide on charm casting that might really interest you, as well as, like I said, some grimoire stuff. So if you're interested in witchcraft and things like that, feel free to check that more creative art grimoire out. And on top of all of that, if you want to get your own charm mat, if you already know what charms do, I do actually have custom mat orders that you can, message me about. Do feel free to check out more information on my Instagram, message me or email me if you have an idea in mind. And I also do private snail mail readings and digital readings that might interest you as well, in case you want to have a question or query in your mind answered. So with that all said, thank you so much for hanging out here with me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this piece of rose quartz, then this is the pile for you to look into the coming next 2 weeks for you, both overarchingly as well as using the charms and other materials to look into the next coming 2 weeks for you with a week by week energy forecast. So we're going to be looking into that here in a moment, but if you're curious what we are getting up to here today with all of the different supplies, all of it will be listed down below for you in the description. But we're going to go ahead and begin first with your letter tiles. So feel free to get yourself cozy, feel free to get settled. Actually, we still have one up, literally one in here, so I'm actually going to leave that because maybe that was there for a reason. But you actually do already have a number showing up here, lingering from group 2. So we have a little 1, but we'll see what other things you get. But we're going to actually start here with the letter tiles. So as always, use your own intuition as we move through these. You might have specific messages coming forward that are just very personal and specific to you. So definitely feel free to use your own intuition. But we're going to be looking with these to see if there's any initials, dates, letters that can create form oracle messages that are really important and impactful for you for the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and start there. Feel free to connect with them if you'd like. And let's go, group 3. So immediately, obviously, we have we showing up here, which is telling me that this is a more community-driven next 2 weeks for you, that you're really looking out for your community or looking out for more than yourself over the next 2 weeks. There's some sort of either just partnership, deep connection that's very specific to one other person or a few other people, or your whole community, or something much more at large. So we have W and E. You also have G, P, I, a little N here, as well as A, S, and T. So I'm also seeing Stan here, which can literally mean like Stan for someone's name, but it's making me think of like, when you're really a fan of someone, like you stan them. If you're very much a fan of someone, especially with this we that's showing up here, is making me think that you're just maybe like, you're celebrating someone's birthday, or you're really, hyping someone up, maybe taking them out, or wanting to really celebrate someone in your life. I'm really getting this feeling of celebration, whether it's a birthday, whether it's taking someone out, whether it's connecting deeply with someone. But I definitely am getting that here with Stan, or just that you're literally someone's biggest fan, whether it's someone who is, like someone you know very deeply and closely, or someone you're still starting to get to know. But we do have that showing up here for you. What else? Also, for some reason, twig keeps coming forward to me, which is not one I normally, write out here, but twig is showing up, or even twigs. So this is kind of getting me this feeling that like you might, and we also see pan here, which is making me think like you're cooking something up, something's cooking up over the next 2 weeks, something that's really boiling under the surface, whether that's, very positively, or maybe something that's like, again, like boiling under the surface. It kind of depends. But with twig, sometimes I have to get out of my own way here, but sometimes with twig, or in this case with twigs, I'm really getting this feeling of like getting out in nature, grounding yourself, really connecting to the earth in some way, or connecting with an animal, connecting with there's a lot of connection over these next 2 weeks, right? We have connection with a community, connection with someone you want to celebrate, and then that connection to the earth. So we really have that showing up here. So I'm really getting, that's kind of everything that I'm really getting here, but you're welcome to see if there's anything else showing up. I'm just going to move these up here for you, and we will see what else you have. So we already have one number, literally one, but we're going to see if there are any other numbers showing up for you. This could be numerological messages. You can see them as angel numbers, messages from spirit, or you can see them as repeating numbers, or however you wish. The colors might even mean something to you as well, with your own personal color association. So let's go ahead and pull you some numbers, group 3. Okay. So first off, you're already getting 111 or 11 almost messages coming up here, which is a wish-making number. Whenever I see 11, it makes me think of wishes, dreams, desires that we might be pursuing. You also have the number 7, which is about retrospection or reflecting on something. And in this case, because I personally find blue to be quite calming or a more positive or optimistic sign, this is telling me too that you might be reflecting on something from the past that's helping you to move forward in this coming week. And then you also have 4, which is a security number. It's a number of, feeling very secure in your box, in your comfort zone. And whenever I see orange, it makes me think of something that's very energizing. So when I'm putting all of this together, this is really just telling me that this is going to be quite a sort of almost, I'm getting like rose-colored glasses feeling, but in a really positive way. Sometimes we put on rose-colored glasses and it can be, detrimental to us, but it's really feeling like you're just putting a very optimistic, positive spin on things, seeing things as feeling that even if you're not necessarily lucky, even if there's no reason to feel lucky, you're feeling lucky this next 2 weeks, or you're just feeling very optimistic about things, feeling very safe, feeling very, just like things are rolling and moving in a really good, harmonious way for you. So I really get that kind of energy from everything that you've been really getting here. So lots to celebrate, lots to be excited about. So I'm excited for you. So moving forward, we're going to look at your overarching message from the Threadbound Oracle here. So this is the overarching theme, overarching energy for you over the next 2 weeks. So do feel free to send your energy in. If you haven't for any of the other card pulls or numbers and things, this is definitely the one to do it for, since this is going to be very obviously overarching. So feel free to pause or meditate on these, and let's go ahead and pull you a card. All right, this one it is. And you know what? I've been feeling generous, so I'm going to take the bottom card as well. I just am feeling this last couple of piles, and I'm just feeling like we need 2. So first off, you have the one that I pulled from the bottom of the deck with the 7 of Ink, Illumination, and this says accomplishment, realization, and pride. Totally makes sense with everything that you already were getting here with that feeling of like celebrating someone or even celebrating your own accomplishments, right? So we have that coming up here. Alongside that, you also have the 4, which we already had a 4 coming forward for you, with the 4 of Ink, the pen. Which the pen is a really helpful tool for you in manifesting, in communication, and in clarity. So if we think of a pen, or if we think of our words as a pen, right, how we're communicating, how we're sharing our words, how we're sharing our story, our perspective, our way of communicating both verbally, non-verbally, through written language or not, it all makes a very big difference. It all can make such a big impact on what we accomplish and how we view our accomplishments too. So this is kind of giving me this feeling that over the next 2 weeks, that where that optimism is coming from is how you're communicating with yourself, both internally with when you communicate in your own brain, but also how we're communicating with others and how we're celebrating others, and your own personal worldview and perspective over these next 2 weeks, that it isn't just built because you're literally lucky, but that you are making your own luck. You know what I mean? There's the people who wait for luck to come to them, and then there's those of us who are like, well, I'm just gonna see the luck in the world, see the things that I'm grateful for, really notice them. And I really feel like you're really noticing the things that you're grateful for over these next 2 weeks, communicating those and being very aware of them. So the 4 of Ink with pen as well can be very specific and personal to some of you. If you're writing a book or a blog, if your work has a lot to do with communication and how you communicate with others, that there could be a lot of accomplishment in that as well, or pride in that as well over the next 2 weeks too. So it can be very specific as well as more overarching, but we're going to go ahead and look further with your 2 week ahead sort of energy forecast here. So if you guys aren't familiar, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so you can see, but if you aren't familiar with the charm mat here, then I'll go ahead and share with you for anything that falls here in the center. That's going to be more on the 2 cards we just talked about in a moment ago for your overarching messages. If you have anything that falls on this half, this little noodle shape, that's about week 1, and then the same thing on the other side with week 2, and then we'll talk about the moons individually if they come up, which the moons have really been talking today, so we'll see. But we're going to start out first with the tarot tiles to get the base messages, and then we'll do the charms here in a moment as well to give us more of those specific nuanced details. So let's see. Feel free to send your energy in through time and space into the dark abyss, and let's see what comes back for you. Group 3. Okay, so I wasn't feeling like a lot of charms were really wanting to come out. So that's either because we've already said a lot of what they wanted to say, or they wanted to keep it kind of chill. But we're going to see these mostly as main energies, but I see this more towards week 1, more towards week 2, so we'll see. But we'll reveal those in a moment, and then you also have the Magician card showing up here in the first week, which is really exciting to see with the amount of accomplishments that you have coming forward. But we'll fill this in and look more deeply and closely here in a moment. So let's go ahead and pull some charms to fill this out. My goodness. And then also one fell here, so I'm gonna move it. So let's go ahead and see if these ones want to show up as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pick that one up, and we'll go ahead and have a little look-see here. So let's start here in the center. So here in the center, one of the very first charms that fell out for you was right here on this card. So I'm very curious to see what this one is, because it seems to be coming forward a lot. So here we are with the 4 of Swords. And the 4 of Swords, as you can see here, they're really laying down to rest. So this is about needing to take a bit of time off to really maybe even celebrate yourself, being able to kind of calm down, celebrate with others. Rest does not necessarily mean that you have to be like laying down, napping kind of rest, but it's just taking some R&R, celebrating with others, calming down after a long day, whatever it might be. But that seems to be coming forward, that maybe over these next 2 weeks, especially in the first week, you might find that you have a little bit extra time, or you are making a bit extra time to celebrate with others, to connect with others, or to connect back with yourself to get a little bit of R&R. This seems to be something that you're not going to be able to have full time, right? It's not like your whole day is going to be off, right? You might still need to work, you might still have other things and other engagements and responsibilities, especially since this is the half charm. Whenever I see this one, it means you have, half the day or half the time, or it's not the full picture. But it does seem to be a very important part in how you maybe are taking up communicating with yourself, communicating with others, how it might be relating to how you're feeling accomplished, or even just giving you a little bit more clarity, a little bit of space to breathe again and to come up and form new ideas. But something about needing to take a bit of a rest. And then you also have the expiration date charm, which represents, again, kind of in that same vein that you want to be able to have this R&R, but it definitely has an expiration date, that maybe you are on spring break, or you're having a bit of extra time off from something, or, you just gained that extra hour after work or something, whatever it might be. It has an expiration date. It's not going to be able to last forever. So definitely take advantage of it. Also, any one of these numbers might be, or dates in this case, might be important to you, so I'll hold that up for you. But also on the other side, this one felt more connected to week 2, you have the Tower charm. So this is maybe why it's telling us a lot of this expiration stuff, that you might not be able to see it in the first week, but it is showcasing that things are going to shake up in the second week. So whenever you see the Tower in more of a weekly, week by week thing, it's usually not as intense as something more overarching. So in this case, it just means that things are going to be maybe less in your control in the second week, that maybe you're not going to have as much free time or as much of this R&R time that you thought you did, or that you're going to be just feeling a little bit more, less clear things. The sky is not as clear, like literally the weather could be a reason why, but regardless, there's something outside of your control that is going to kind of shake things up in the second week for sure. So we have that showing up here as a major theme for the second week. So how do these really connect with each week? Let's go ahead and look at them so you can see them a little bit more clearly here. So here in the first week, we'll start here first. You have the monster charm, very close to the second week. So it might be, again, that maybe you knew that you were only going to have a certain amount of time and that things are going to get maybe more overwhelming or a little bit more responsibility on your shoulders that maybe you're a little bit nervous about coming in the second week, especially since you have the bell here, which is telling me, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember this or even had this, but like when bells would go off at school to tell you when the next class was about to start. So it kind of feels like that anticipation of like a bell going off or an alarm of some sort being like, okay, in the second week things are going to get a little crazy, so let's take advantage of the first week. So here we are with you taking advantage of the first week. You have a little locket here. This one, you can see it as a locket, meaning that something is literally being locked off to you or something that you're holding very close to your chest. Sometimes this can also represent, being mindful and mindfulness, especially with taking in memories that you're very grateful for. Also, spring energy comes in with this specific locket with like these little flowers. So lots of different energies coming forward. Spring, unlocking gratitude, holding memories close to your chest coming forward in the first week. But alongside that, you also have the magician charm or magician card in this case. And this usually represents being very resourceful. Whenever I see the magician, it represents that there are a lot of resources. In this case, I feel like time being a very important resource for you in this first week, something to really take advantage of. Because out of all of the cards in the deck, the magician has all of the suits. It has the wands, the pentacles, the cups, it has the swords, right? It has everything in and at its disposal. So in this case, you really have a lot of resources to take advantage of in this first week before things maybe change up and get maybe a little bit more chaotic in the second. As for when we move into the second week here, you have a few others. We have the spinning, normally I don't think of spinning whenever I see this one, but we have the dancer charm, but this kind of feels like things spinning around you, feeling a little bit, maybe overstrung. What is the word that I'm looking for? Basically, like when you just feel like you don't have as much energy as you did before. So there's something showing up there. The dancer feeling like they're just going in circles. So something happening, coming back around in the second week. And then you also have, the dancer can just represent creativity. It can represent literally dancing. So take it as literal or as more overarching as you'd like and as feels right to you. You also have the little record or vinyl charm showing up here, which usually represents something that is, like when a record skips and skips and skips, or it's like a broken record. So this is kind of the energy that I'm getting here with this top, this over, just like you're over it. It kind of feels like you're over it in the second week, which makes sense. It feels like maybe some responsibilities are stacking up in the second week, or you're feeling like where you had a lot of resources and you're making a lot of luck in the first week, things are maybe less so in the second week, but that you might be fantasizing or still maybe even doing some escapism in the second week, maybe reading books, watching a lot of movies, that kind of thing. Feels very like a very mundane, regular second week showing up here, but you do have that with this little Cinderella charm. As for the moons, you're welcome to look at the moons as the more spiritual meaning of each moon phase, or you can see it as each phase representing a specific date or timing. By looking at a moon app or a calendar, you can find out when each moon phase is about to happen for you. But here on between the first quarter moon and the full moon here, which is all about kind of like harnessing your highest energy, sort of this resource feeling, you have the throat chakra. So whenever I see this one, it represents being able, that same communication thing that we were feeling earlier. So I'm not going to speak too much on this one, but this might give you some timing of when that accomplishing energy or that clarity might be coming forward for you. You have the grounding charm. Like I said, I felt that twig feeling of like grounding, getting closer to nature, that sort of energy. That's happening around the new moon. And then here with the icicle charm, this usually represents preparation and being prepared or looking out for danger. So this is showing up here near just before the new moon. So those are just things to look for specifically for you if you'd like to. But overall, those are all of the charms and cards here for you. If you did enjoy this reading, if you got something out of it, it would mean so much to me if you could give this video a like. And you're welcome to, let me know in the comments down below how it resonated, if you saw anything specific in the charms or cards. I would truly love to hear. And if you like these pick a card readings, if you're really interested in art magic or charm casting or anything like that, then definitely feel free to subscribe as I put out new readings and videos every single Monday. That might really interest you. And speaking of interest, if you are interested in charm casting, I have an entire master guide on charm casting that you might want to check out. And on top of that, I also am opening up orders to create custom embroidered charm mats for some of you. So if you'd like to see what those are all about, you can check out my Instagram or DM or email me, and we can talk about, maybe a custom mat I could create for you. And on top of that, I also have snail mail readings and digital readings that might really interest you as well if you want to look into a specific query or question on your mind. But with that all said, thank you so much for hanging out here with me today. Thank you so much to all of you who have been so kind and supportive of me taking last week off. And thank you so much for just being here. So with that all said, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.